Nuggets have the second shortest odds after beginning the postseason with the sixth shortest. The Lakers just behind the Nuggets. For much more, here's Mike Greenberg and the NBA Countdown crew. Greeny?
All right, Kevin, thank you very much. We have a big night ahead of us tonight with Stephen A. Smith and Jalen Rose. We will have Michael Wilbon with us from Arizona in just a moment. But in advance of Warriors-Lakers tonight, the big news comes from over here, and that's where Woj is standing by, our senior insider, with the latest on an injury not a lot of people may know about yet, but it could have an incredibly significant impact on tonight's game. Woj, what is the situation with Andrew Wiggins?
Greeny, that's right. A fracture in the rib cage area for Andrew Wiggins, has left some uncertainty about his availability tonight. I'm told that he's expected to try and give it a go in Game 6 tonight in L.A. He will warm up before the game, see how he feels, but the expectation is he's going to try. This is certainly an injury that is difficult for a basketball player in that region, especially with shooting the ball. The extension that's necessary there. Obviously, Wiggins, a crucial part of this Warriors team. He's the one most tasked with guarding LeBron James, had 25 points in Game 5. Certainly his health and his ability to play at a high level are crucial for Golden State. But again, I'm told he'll warm up before Game 6 tonight, and he's expected, I'm told, to give it a go.
All right, feels absolutely critical. Woj, thank you. We will check in with you for more as it comes, and certainly we'll see you on Countdown. In the meantime, let me get Wilbon in as promised, and we hear that. A postseason, Stephen A., that has been defined in so many ways by injuries. Here comes another, and so let's look at Golden State trying to keep its season alive tonight. What do the Warriors have to do to force a Game 7?
I think there has to be an explosion from Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the combination of the two, particularly with Andrew Wiggins hurt. Even if he plays tonight, the bottom line is this. They already come into the game undersized. We understand that. They're a bit thin on their front line compared to what the Lakers could throw at them. When you take that into consideration and you consider the fact that Wiggins is 6'8" and he's an elite defender that can cause problems for LeBron James and various others, and now he's not allowed to be so physical because he's limited, that really puts the Warriors in a spot. It calls for the greatness of their perimeter players. You could throw Poole into the mix as well, but definitely it starts with Steph and Klay.
Wilbon, you were telling me before we came on here about a conversation you had today that I think was fascinating.
Yeah, Greeny talking to a longtime NBA assistant coach who talked about this in the terms that Woj just explained to us. Andrew Wiggins. I mean, think about how huge Andrew Wiggins was in the playoffs last year, specifically the finals, particularly some games at Boston Garden where he can both give you 20-plus points and guard the best wing player on the other team, somewhere between effectively and really effectively. Well, I know a lot of people in the league think if Andrew Wiggins can't be that guy, Golden State's going to have a really difficult task winning tonight. And so I hear Stephen A. and agree with him about needing Steph and Klay to be Steph and Klay. But if we remember last year, particularly even in Game 4, Andrew Wiggins was enormous. And so they're going to need what I call an Isaiah Thomas-like effort from him. If we go back to the Isaiah Lord Thomas, I knew that would get a reaction out of Jalen. And you know what I mean when Isaiah was playing on that busted ankle, right? I mean, that's Herculean and the superhuman. I don't know that you need to get there. But something like that, Jalen, where you're playing and it's almost like you're on you're outside yourself. You can give that kind of effort for your team in a critical elimination game. It's still going to be largely about what Andrew Wiggins can do and how effective he can be.
The Warriors in trouble. They've been terrible on the road all season. Wiggins won't be 100%. And as series play out, it's pieces in one big chess game. So in this series, I know Steph is going to show up. I know if healthy, Wiggins and Draymond, who both had over 20, are going to show up. The question marks, Klay Thompson, 11 points on average the last 3 games, 33% shooting. Jordan Poole, 21 points in Game 1. 22 total points the last 3 games. Those are the two guys, Klay and Poole. If they give the Warriors big games, they take this thing to Game 7. If not, they go home.
Game 6, the 88 final. Isaiah Thomas with one of the great gutty performances of all time. Not sure Wiggins needs it'll be that kind of legendary, but we'll see what he's able to muster up tonight. That's game 2 of our doubleheader tonight. We'll have the Knicks and the Heat, and we'll talk about that one a little later in this edition of SportsCenter. In the meantime, Kevin Agandi, we send it back to you.
Greeny, thank you so much. Nation in LA tonight against LeBron and the Lakers. A loss tonight would mark the Warriors' first series loss against a Western Conference team in the Steve Kerr era. Their 19 straight series wins against the West is the longest streak against intra-conference opponents since conferences were created in 1970. And then for LA, Anthony Davis, he's probable to return after taking a Kevon Looney elbow to his head in Game 5. The Lakers' big man has been outstanding over the last 3 games, averaging over 23 and 12 a game over that span. Meanwhile, LeBron's teams 17-0 in series when they are up 3-1. That's the most such series wins by any player without a loss, and none of those series went to a 7th game. We'll see if the Warriors can change that tonight and force a Game 7 on Mother's Day in San Francisco. And joining us now from Crypto.com Arena is NBA reporter Dave McMenamin, who's covering the Lakers. You've been on hand for many of those series with LeBron's teams on the cusp of advancing. What should we expect from the Lakers tonight as they look to knock off the defending champs?
Well, Kevin, starting with LeBron, I mean, we hear all about Game 6 Clay. LeBron has plenty of Game 6 performances under his belt as well, but Darvin Ham said he doesn't need LeBron to be a hero. He wants everyone to lock in, bring more energy, effort, and urgency, and the team that does that will be the team successful tonight. Now, Darvin Ham admitted that him and his coaching staff, after they met for a film session on Thursday, reviewing Game 5, they're considering a lineup change. And if they do end up going with it, you would see Jared Vanderbilt out of the starting lineup. He's already had his minutes cut the last 3 games. He's only scored 4 points total over the last 3 games. And the Lakers would go with a more offensive thrust, either Rui Hachimura or Lonnie Walker, the fourth most likely. But Darvin Ham said he was going to sleep on it, consult with his coaching staff again on Friday morning before he made the final decision. We'll find out soon enough. They had to give the lineups in about 3.5 hours, and we'll see if they stick with the group that's already won them 3 games this series or make a tweak to try to stick with that offensive explosion that the Warriors bring to the court.
They have been so good at home, undefeated so far this postseason, winning by an average of 18 points per game. Dave, thank you so much. Meanwhile, the Lakers 8-2 under Steve Kerr when facing elimination. That's the best record in such games by any coach in NBA history. It's the first time they've trailed 3-1 to a West team since the 2016 Conference Finals. And guess what? They came back to win that series, and that series featuring Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook beating the Thunder. And then we saw, of course, that would change the entire shift of the Western Conference and the NBA when Kevin Durant in the offseason went to Golden State. Senior NBA writer Mark J. Spears for Anscape is covering the Warriors. You've been around this Golden State team for much of this Warriors era. What's their mindset as they get ready for a must-win situation?
Well, they've always had this mindset of playing their best basketball when their back is against a wall, and they've always been competitive too. I can't think of a time, even when they've lost in these situations, where they've gotten blown out. Case in point, the 2019 finals or the 2016 when they lost, they were competitive. But they've also played their best against the wall, or their backs against the wall. 2016 OKC, 2018 Houston, Game 7 against Sac last round. This team always seems to respond with their backs against the wall. And one thing to keep in mind, since I'm throwing out all these stats, they've actually also had 28 straight series where they've won at least one road game. They haven't won in Crypto.com yet. You know, this is going to be their last game of the series here tonight. So, you know, based on the history of being around Steph since he showed up in 2019 and being around them since they got this championship run going, the one thing they do is play great basketball,